Testing 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Sound is working. Got a few minutes before we start, 8 minutes or so, and then we will get started. 2 more minutes to go and we will get started. 2 more minutes. Okay, gang, it is that wonderful time and we are off and running. We've got sound, which is fantastic. We've got our subtitles running across the bottom of the screen. That is wonderful. Well, welcome to phase 2, step number 5, the closing aberration, where I'm going to share with you how to close without negotiating. And of course, this suggests, the aberration suggests that there is a new way to approach this delicate and even unpleasant aspect of selling automobiles. The closing aberration will take you from not knowing what to do or say to closing every sale every time without sacrificing gross profit, closing in such a way that is normal, customer focused, friendly, and anticipated by your shopper. Now, this is the second arena of selling intelligence, where we start to build out your acumen of sales. And this is where you go from not knowing how to close those deals to closing every buyer every time. This will reduce your selling time and increase your capacity without working any off-shift hours. And just so you know you're in the right place, I want to underscore that this system reflects the exact strategy that I've used to help countless salespeople and teams quickly and predictably teach them to persevere and preserve maintaining gross profit when closing to achieve their vehicle sales goals. In short, this is what is working right now. So let's dig in, shall we? As you might be aware, trying to preserve and maintain gross can be a real problem for, and of course, ultimately performing at maximum potential for salespeople worldwide, not to mention your managers, your owners, and the OE. Now, the reason that we may be struggling with this, trying to preserve gross profit, close in a timely fashion, help customers do what they want, is that, quite frankly, the automotive world is absolutely flooded with pseudo trainers, courses, and coaches espousing to teach you with hype and entertainment, all promising to get you results, but ultimately only adding to our overwhelm and frustration. Because just about every day, I hear the same questions from folks just like yourself, asking me these very simple questions. First being, Bill, can you close sales without high pressure tactics? Secondly, is closing in the digital world different than closing in person live? And finally, will better closing skills help me close more deals faster? And many more like that we're going to discuss and solve right here. In fact, or the fact is, 3 main reasons that average ordinary salespeople struggle to preserve and maintain gross profit when closing. And the first reason is that they're wandering around aimlessly, chasing that latest shiny object, meaning what's the one tactic right now that'll solve all these problems? The second thing is that most ordinary average salespeople push back against management, the people that are trying to help them, not hinder them. And that includes me with respect to management selecting training. And finally, the most significant thing is that you may be working from an outdated sales training program. Now, when you couple that with the ineffective results that it generates and the cost of the program itself, It's expensive, to say the very least. This is where our six-figure income manifesto really kicks in. And let me show you how it works. Step one, the first thing that clients must do on this journey is watch every module from our on-demand video platform. If you're not familiar with our on-demand video platform, definitely go to my website, www.dynamicsintel. Pardon me. Well, you can go to dynamicsintel.com, but since we have registered the new autodealershipacademy.com URL and website, it'll all go to the same place, and request a discovery call to see if this is the right thing for you. That's not the purpose of today's seminar, though. Let's move on. The next step that you're going to want to do in terms of those actions is download the closing cheat sheet. And of course, step number 3 for those professionals that really want to make a difference, the closing aberration system is learning how successful users rehearse, practice, and drill these closing strategies. And remember, a strategy is a collection of techniques, tactics. They're all perfectly aligned to work together until you have mastery. So this process is step 5 of our six-figure income manifesto. It's the most straightforward, predictable, and proven system for anyone serious about doing what it takes to achieve their vehicle sales goals and be a salesperson earning a six-figure income, selling more vehicles, and performing at maximum potential. I partner with every single one of you that I work with, which means here in phase 2, we're building out your sales intelligence. The closing aberration system is the core mechanism for ensuring you maintain gross profit when closing, as mentioned so many times earlier. Closing aberration is about how closing is different now than ever before. In module 1, we're going to talk about the relationship that you have with your customer. This is the difficult part of the sales process that average ordinary salespeople fear. And the reason for that fear is not preparing for the roadblocks that customers may present at any point of the sales process. If these roadblocks pop up, no problem. We're going to talk about how to handle roadblocks in a more customer-friendly perspective, and you'll see the benefit. Module 2, this is where we talk about the patented closing tactics. And this is what I know you really want to know about. And if you have not set up the closing with check-ins, that is only one tactic, meaning the shiny object syndrome, only learning one tactic, you'll likely need to learn the rest of the tactics in order to align them consistently in order to be able to close in a fast, effective fashion. And so closing, therefore, is not one tactic, but a collection of tactics rolled up to form a strategy. So back to patented closes. These are not actually patented. They are referred to as such because they work so well every time. Best of all, they're customer focused. Now, misused, they could be misinterpreted as offensive, because if your timing is off, the tactic is not the right one to leverage to possibly close that deal. We'll talk about it. Module 3. You will learn that there are 2 categories all objections can be classified by. Shoppers present objections in many different forms, but any of these objections can be categorized in one of 2 types of resistance. The most typical objections are those that slow a deal down. I call those stalls. Stalls are non-specific reasons like excuses. The other objection category are those that stop a deal, and I call those conditions. These are specific reasons, not vague reasons, specific reasons or concerns that you may think are out of your control. I'm going to share with you how my closing creativity formula will help you keep the deal moving forward to finalize and close. You'll learn the creativity formula and more about negotiation specifically in step 6. But in step 5, I'm going to give you the formula right here, right now. And then in module 4, we're going to talk about ways to help the customer make the decision that they want to make and the decision that you want to make. Now, obviously, customers will object to price, payments, terms, interest rate, lease versus finance, colors, And there's a proven strategy for specifically isolating and positively closing the sale, including all of those and everything else that goes along with it. So stay with me. And then module 5, you're going to learn to leverage cash versus bank versus lease financing and which is best for your customer. Because for years, leasing has, to the uneducated, carried a negative connotation, and maybe even possibly you have it too. The secret to predictable sales and income is the trade cycle, and leasing plays into that hand absolutely perfectly. But regardless of how the customer pays for it, you want to renew them over and over again. And keep in mind, the customer is in control. And as much as one payment method is more beneficial to your trade cycle than another, the customer-focused approach means you help them see themselves getting what they want, so you see yourself getting what you want. Commission, taillights going down the road, stickers on the board. And I'll show you how to do so. Now, the Harvard Business School has studied this activity of closing as far back as the 1960s, and they discovered it's a living document to maintain their continuity within the post-secondary education realm. The intent of always studying negotiation is to understand the various cultures influencing negotiation. Business leaders around the world praise these findings that Harvard delivers to us. And we know there are, from their studies, 2 types of negotiators and only 2 kinds of negotiations. I'll cover these details in step number 6. Today is about the closing aberration. So if you don't already know, some negotiators are pleasant while others can be difficult. I just let you in on that little secret of the 2 types of negotiators. And appearances can be deceiving. They all start out really, really nice. That's the challenge for you, determining who you are working with. You'll learn how and who is a nice and a not so nice negotiator in the next step. Now, this step is packed full of tactics that you may have seen, read, or heard before. That's because the market and consumers change, but the fundamental tactics of closing, fortunately, do not. There are only so many ways to ask for the sale. And as mentioned, patented tactics that get results. However, as we learned, average ordinary salespeople louse it up by being ill-prepared and simply puke tactics that offend and frustrate shoppers. The solution is knowing the tactics, how to deploy them sequentially, strategically, drawing all the tactics together based on your shopper's intention and desire. Now, the purpose and secret to closing, or the closing aberration, is getting commitment. Number 1, you need to get commitment to know that they're actually going to buy your product. And that is only possible when they like, believe, and trust you. When they trust you, they'll walk into a burning building with you if you tell them to. If they don't trust you, they won't buy at half the price that they know something is fishy is going on. Even if you did present it at half the price, they would absolutely know something is unusual about this and not entirely right. In fact, it's completely illegal to buy something that you willingly know is half of what it should sell for. You'll know they trust you with body language that we learned at step 1. And then when you stack these tactics up, your strategy is asking for commitment, as you did in step 2 and step 3, with leveraging the OBP strategy of overview, benefit, and permission. Now, there's a notion that buyers go to buyers or shoppers school. Now, average ordinary people think that many of these shoppers do because of the similar objections that they run into. And maybe you even believe it. There are actually books written about it, like How to Buy a Car for Dummies. That's actually a published book that you can buy on Amazon. And I have both of these books, How to Beat the Car Salesman. That one I found at a retailer while checking out, and it had nothing to do with car sales. It wasn't at a dealership, wasn't even at Kohl's or at Indigo or Chapters. I didn't learn anything. Here's the great news. I didn't learn anything reading any of them about how to buy a car and beat the car salesman that was distinctive. What I did get was the impression it was written by a disgruntled, average, ordinary salesperson in an attempt to make money. Remember, the average, ordinary salespeople is always looking for the easy way out. And of course, now they've written a book espousing to let the average customer in on all our secrets. There's no secret to closing. Closing Aberration is being customer focused. With me right now, you'll learn the tactics bundled together to form a customer-friendly closing strategy. I want to confirm with you that selecting the right vehicle that is affordable is the easiest way for you to bridge the gap between their old vehicle and their new vehicle. That justifies the increase in price, the increase in payment, the increase in terms, and the suggestion maybe to move to a lease or a balloon payment in order to lower the monthly payment. When you bridge that gap, it makes your life so much easier, and you're less about forcing a decision on your buyer and consequently receive a better customer experience score because of alignment. The customer feels like they close the deal, not you. That's the closing aberration. Quite simply, closing, let's cover that off and define it, is the act of finalizing the agreement. Agreement being the operative word, not actually closing. Coming to an agreement is the essence of the deal, closing the deal specifically. Closing is not, in fact, an exercise like negotiation. That we'll cover in the next step. In the next step, you'll learn the tactics of negotiations and close a deal. If you have selected the right vehicle, presented numbers, have the affirmation that it is affordable, and you know that with their agreement, the customer wants to take it, closing happens throughout the sale from your interview till now then. Observing interest and commitment, seeking approval. If not, then ask for it. Make sure you get that approval all the way along. Make sure you see them, as we've talked about before from Dr. Spencer's little book, The 1 Minute Salesman. Make sure that you see them seeing themselves getting what they want, so you see yourself getting what you want. And that's a sticker on the board, taillights going down the road. Now, closing ends the interaction, hence the term. I've put closing before negotiation because you think negotiation and closing are harmonious. Think of closing as check marks throughout each step of the 8 steps of the sale. Average, ordinary salespeople do not believe every shopper is a buyer. So to get paid, they default to price negotiation, giving up gross profit. That's, as I mentioned, giving up. Who wouldn't want to buy a Highline trim level at the price of the next model down? I certainly would. So the battle of negotiation, unpleasant tactics, wearing out a pair of shoes, running back and forth between management, finishing off with worn out knees and your slacks because you're begging and pleading, is the consequence, which is selling the wrong vehicle at a low gross, small commission, poor customer experience that jades your decision to love what you do and do what you love, selling automobiles, right? Let's talk about the tactics then to overcome that. Number 1 tactic is the try close or the check-in. When you go back to the interview step and facilitate the OBP strategy, if the shopper does not say yes, why move on? If the shopper hasn't told you right at the interview, this is what our new vehicles, this is how our new vehicles are equipped, and this is what the advertisement is, where you disclose payments and price, bi-monthly payments, lease or finance, or a cash deal. If they don't say, yeah, that's affordable, or yeah, that's the color that I like, or yes, those are the trim levels that I want, why continue on? Ordinary average salespeople assume the sale, never checking in, babbling on about features and mistaking the shopper's politeness for actually being interested. That's unconscious incompetence, unconscious of the shopper's engagement, and incompetent at closing because they never attempt to bridge the gap between the old and the new. So the shopper initiates negotiation to close themselves. Whose process is that? Now, I said earlier, You don't control the customer. And I'm talking about going back to step 2. You control the process. However, when the customer controls the process and the money, they're the person paying, so they control the money. Well, you've lost all control of the sale. When you leverage the OBP strategy, overview, benefit, and permission, you're try closing at the interview, at the product presentation, at the product demonstration, checking in that closing is absolutely going to happen and you'll finalize the deal. Closing in this way skips the negotiation step because the customer's been so used to saying yes, closing themselves all the way along. Now, Choice Theory is a book written by William Glasser, an absolutely dynamic author. I think he's fantastic and terrific. Really like reading his stuff. William Glasser defines how and why we make decisions. What I take away for the purpose of teaching you is that when customers, including ourselves, are presented with choices, we feel in control, making decisions. Therefore, making decisions is the process of closing. The root definition of the word decision actually means to cut off from. When you close throughout the sale, you are helping the shopper cut off from owning and continue driving their old vehicle and presenting features based on hot buttons, closing the deal in a customer-friendly way to the new automobile. I hope that really makes sense for you. Now, have you ever been told, take control of your customer? That's the worst advice in the world. Ignore that advice. Would you think about it? Would you buy anything from anyone that was controlling you? How would you even go about controlling them? Instead, help them arrive at the decision that they want to make. They want a shiny, newer, technologically advanced vehicle with a full warranty. That's your job. You'll learn to close them by leading them through your 8 steps to the sale. When you lead the customer through the process, you are in control of the process. This is what I believe best intentioned managers mean by take control. Now, shoppers will always present hurdles, objections, and excuses to leave when or if they don't transition from their old vehicle and what it's doing for them right now to the new. At the very least, they're going to want to negotiate. So let's assume that you've done everything right and they're stalling out. The closing aberration is to isolate the stall as an excuse or as a reason. In Mastering Negotiation, I'm going to share with you 10 stalls, objections, and conditions and how to overcome those quickly and easily. It's like the courtroom drama of a Hollywood movie on the silver screen. And Hollywood does a wonderful job of dramatizing this for. You know what I mean by when the lawyer shouts out objection and the judge either accepts or denies the objection. Sales are exactly the same way. Objections appear in 2 forms, stall or conditions. You either accept it or deny it. Now, a customer says something like, well, let me think about it. What would you or could they want to think about? You know, from the Dynamic Buyer Odyssey, the shoppers transcended the shopping process. And they're here in your showroom, calling on the phone, emailing in, or virtually as you're pitching your product and service through an organized and appointment scheduled Zoom meeting, taking them through build and price. You're saying to them, or they're saying to you, pardon me, because they've transcended the buying process, that they've thought about it, talked about it, researched the vehicle on the internet, saw it in a parking lot somewhere and talked to a stranger about their purchase or a colleague at work and found out how much they love their product that they would like to buy. And now they're here talking to you, standing in front of you, wanting to buy. So you must refine and isolate any stall with respect to closing before you actually ask them to sign on the dotted line, because they've transcended the shopping process. What do they want to think about? And you do that by leveraging this tactic. Would that stop you from buying? Would that stop you from buying? I want to think about it. Would that stop you from buying? I'm not sure if I like the color. Would that stop you from buying? You don't have the trim level that I want. Would that stop you from buying? A lot of people don't think about it in that capacity. And in this day and age of scarcity and urgency, scarcity meaning we don't have the product on the ground, urgency because the car you're going home to think about tonight is the very vehicle that someone else was in here yesterday, sleeping on it last night and probably coming in to buy. So do this. Don't be mad when you come in. Don't be mad at me when you come back and decide that now is the time you want to get it and it's not available. Would that stop you from buying? Opens that door to refine the I want to think about it. Understand, it doesn't overcome the I want to think about it and close the deal, but it opens the door for discussion for you to refine what is it that they need to think about. I really hope you get that. Now, if you don't get any objections at all, finalize with the bill of sale. Especially if you get a no, it wouldn't stop me from buying. Go right to the bill of sale and finalize. If you do get a yes, well, there's no point in negotiating because they haven't committed to buying. And this is the closing aberration. This is what you really need to define and refine for yourself. Now, look at these stall close tactics that shoppers use. Talk with the spouse, think it over. I have no intention of buying today. I want a bigger vehicle, smaller vehicle, faster vehicle, more fuel efficient vehicle. I want better technology, self-driving, smart cruise control, autopilot, whatever the case is. Could be something simple as a heated steering wheel and Apple or Android CarPlay. Either the customer is really not sure of their decision and they're getting cold feet, or they may be feeling pressure of buying, both of which are clear indicators that the shopper has not transcended the bridge from the old, meaning their old car. They're thinking about their old car. They're judging the new vehicle. They're considering the new commitment of payments and the higher price. And they're saying to themselves, I'm not sure our old vehicle isn't exactly what we want, or I'm not sure the new vehicle has changed enough that that's really what I want. Interesting, isn't it? When you think about the closing aberration in this capacity. Now, how many times do you get not enough for my trade? The interest rate is too high. My credit may have a blemish, or I don't like the color. Those are rather top of mind right now. At least my research and talking with salespeople on a regular basis seems to be coming up quite frequently. Interest rate being the driver because our payments have gone up so substantially. How many customers, and the easiest way for you to keep the monthly payment the same is to either eliminate features and options or ask them to put money down, to which they're going to say, I like those features, I want those options, and I don't want to put any money down. How many customers still don't understand negative equity and want a better price? Do you see the difference now between stalls and conditions? Look at that. Not enough for my trade. Interest rate is too high. My credit may have a blemish. I don't like the color. I must have this feature. I can't put that much money down. Don't understand negative equity, and I can get a better price elsewhere. You see the difference? Those are specific reasons you can put your finger on. Pardon me, I've got my screen right in the way for you to be able to read those. Let me move that out of the way. Those are specific reasons for the customer to hold off, right? This is what I call conditions. These are not stalls or pauses. These are hold off. I got to stop right here. Stalls are wishy-washy, goofy excuses, right? So let me show you how to overcome stalls and conditions to close the sale in the next module. So if you've not bridged the gap between old and new with a value selling presentation, you'll never close the deal. There is no one, including me and Ninja the Super Closer, that can do so. People buy what they want from whom they trust. Closing does not earn trust. Remember, in communication, it's not so much what we say as how we say it. At the conclusion of this module, you're going to know how to leverage a formula to close the deal and the risks that are associated with that. So keep in mind where we are, first of all, in the selling process. I want to draw your attention to that graph on the screen right over there. At least, yeah, my window's in the same place it is on your screen. You cannot start your relationship with the customer at the purchase consultation. See how that is 1, 2, 6. Step 1, welcome. 2, interview. 6, purchase consultation. You cannot start them there. As much as they would like to start there, and as much as the pathway makes it look direct and easy, this is in fact the best way for a shopper to get your lowest price, earning you a poor commission in the process. By going step 1, 2, and 6, your shopper's not emotional, transitioning from the old to the new via your bridge. They're simply focused on price. Now, ordinary average salespeople following a wing it strategy skip the bridge process that builds value, helping the shopper buy. That may be why we have so many frustrated shoppers coming to see you, because they've not been through a conscientious, easy sales process. Follow the process. It works. Go over the features that the vehicle has, line by line, now assuming that you have gone through the steps of product presentation, demonstration, and now we're back at the interview, transitioning to step 6, the purchase consultation or closing. So go over those features, line by line, seeking approval along the way. If there's any hesitation, stop and ask, is this the vehicle you would really like to own? Don't hesitate to ask that question. This is the closing aberration. If you don't see them seeing themselves owning this vehicle, then another hour sitting with them and running back and forth wearing out a pair of shoes, or on bended knee, wearing out the knees in your trousers, begging and pleading for them to take it, exhausting your gross, is not going to work either. Find out right now before moving on. Your customers should be so excited that they see themselves owning it, almost telling you how they're going to use it. This is really easy to do. And I really need to point out, it does not slow the process down. Remember, that was one of the questions at the very beginning. Will the closing aberration slow my sales process down? It does quite the opposite. It speeds it up. It's simply an observation that you need to do to be aware of what they're doing. We talked about body language and the effects of communication way back at the first step. There can be no hesitation at this point. I hope that really makes sense for you. Now, if your dealership's process is to present numbers at your desk, great. If management prefers you to touch desk and then present numbers, that's fine too. Remember, communication is 3 parts: content, voice, and body language. If you're shifting in your seat, moving around a lot, you look nervous. If your voice is fluttery and not confident, and you're not clearly enunciating your words, you don't sound confident. When asking for money and presenting numbers is generally where everybody falls apart. Get shifty in their seat, don't speak confidently because they're not confident themselves. They see the numbers being gigantic and the customer's going to say no. So when asking for money, present the numbers, describing numbers, not as a coherent sentence. Let me show you. A selling price of $35,799, in other words, $35,799, is spoken as $35,799. No thousands, no hundreds. In other words, when we're asking for money, it's just the words. Now, when we're giving the customer money, like a trade-in or a discount, putting money in their hand, now you include the hundreds and thousands. You would say for $5,650, you'd say, we are pleased to take your vehicle in on trade and we'll pay you $5,650 for that vehicle. Now, I chose a low amount to really highlight and demonstrate that, right? How many of you are taking $5,000 trades? Maybe a lot of you, maybe very few of you, with the volume of vehicles that are trading higher than what they were selling for. I think that number is really, really low. So if you had a 15-year-old car with 150,000 kilometers on it, and let's say, for instance, it's a Civic or a Corolla, it's a desirable product, it could be worth $5,650. It's probably not what the customer wants. They've looked on Auto Trader and Kijiji and Facebook Marketplace and see they're trading for much more than that. But you've got to make it sound like it's a big deal. Do you hear the difference? It's subtle, but it goes directly to the shopper's subconscious. And this is how they make sense of it all. Now, working with the trade-in and confirming the number, leading to the close, you would say the difference between the two numbers is $30 and $799. That's actually $56.5 coming out of your bank account monthly, or a bi-weekly payment of $248 coming out of your bank account. Do you hear the difference? We want to leave it at the thousands and hundreds on the gross price and including the monthly payment, because now we're actually asking them for money. This makes the decision at the consumer, at the shopper, at the buyer's end way easier. In fact, it reduces it to the ridiculous, right? A biweekly payment of $248 will be coming out of your bank account. Would you like to pick that up Monday or Tuesday? That's the close. Would you like to pick it up Monday or Tuesday? This is so much more customer focused. It makes it so easy for them to make that decision. This is what gets you repeat and referral business. Now, this is actually only, as mentioned, $248 biweekly and $565 coming out of your bank account monthly. The purpose of leaving at the hundreds and tens is to reduce the price of that ridiculous, as I mentioned. You want to make it sound like it's so affordable, they'd be silly not to become a buyer. Now, don't misinterpret this tactic as being tricky or slimy. It's something that was identified in How to Beat the Car Salesman and How to Buy a Car for Dummies. If this reduce it to the ridiculous by simply reading the numbers seems tricky or slimy, I don't get it. This is the payment. You calculated the payment, and provided there are no surprises afterwards, no additions that'll be tacked onto it where the payment will rise dramatically, then what is tricky and slimy about it? Remember, the shopper's transcended the shopping process and wants to buy from you. So close the deal, but don't close them. Close the deal. If there is no obvious reaction to, and I mean by that an objection, then don't wait 1/10 of a second to close the deal. Say this. Write it down if you want. With your permission, I will go and request a time for delivery and coordinate the business finance manager. Say this. With your permission, I will go and request a time for delivery and coordinate the business finance manager. The closing aberration tactic number 1 is to assume the sale, right? Don't ask if they want to buy it. Unquestionably, they want to buy it. 100% they want to go with it. They just don't want to say, I'll take it. Or worse, look, if we compare ourselves to a big box store, Home Depot, Walmart, Best Buy, Cabela's, if that's your thing, it's impossible for us to have a cart big enough for a customer to put under a car, lift it up, and then wheel it up to a cashier. Now, when you assume the sale, you're technically doing that, allowing them to put the cart under the car, truck, SUV, lift it up, and wheel it up to the cashier. Assume that that is how they want to buy. Tactic number 2, we need to gain their permission with an approval, not a signature. Remember, this is not negotiating, this is closing. We're finalizing the deal. The agreement finalizes the deal. So we want their approval. We don't need their signature. And with signature goes John Henry and scribble something there, or I just need your I need your sign on the dotted line. Okay, anything along those things that become very formal, like a bank would say, I need your signature, or sign on the line, or sign in the box. That's something the government, CRA, would ask you to do. We don't want to be that institutional about closing. We want to keep the emotions running high, light and lively, and gain their approval as opposed to a signature. Tactic number 3, let's go get a time for delivery. And this completes the bridge, eliciting the emotion, generating the excitement of ownership. Not only have we bridged from the old to the new, we're bridging from the new to ownership. Remember, the new is your vehicle. It's in your business. It's coming from your manufacturer. We want the customer to see themselves taking that vehicle to mom and dad and going on vacations and trips and driving to work, or just going out for a picnic, hauling a boat, an RV. That's what we really want to see them doing. And that bridge from new to completing that, and you should have built that bridge as you were going through your product presentation demonstration anyway. This is how you manage the process of getting a deposit. So in other words, if your management does require a deposit, you can say this: with your permission indicated by a deposit, I will go and secure this vehicle, or order, if you're doing orders still because you don't have product on the ground and the customer will wait, and then we request a time for delivery. So write that down. I'm going to slow down. With your permission indicated by a deposit, I will secure this vehicle or order and request a time for delivery. If somebody said that to you, wouldn't you feel great about purchasing your products? Hey, look, unquestionably, we sell high ticket items. Even if it's snowmobiles, ATVs, motorcycles, these are high ticket items. So don't discount the fact that the customer is going to wake up out of the ether and realize, whoa, this is a lot of money I'm spending. These are long commitments. It's not 48 and 60 months anymore. It's 72, 84, 96. And hey, gang, we're not far away from 108 and 120. Don't kid yourself. So tactic number 4, coordinating the financing. This should never be a subject to condition, even though it really is. This is the business manager's function and role. But when you introduce a condition at the close, you're actually stalling the deal and robbing the emotion from the client. You want to keep your conversation light, bright, and tight. Ordinary average salespeople don't. They babble on, breaking the communication trance, and the buyer becomes a shopper again. Closing this way that I'm suggesting right now, getting their approval, coordinating the delivery by introducing the business manager. Who would say no to that? This is the closing aberration. Now, I want to share with you a quick story to really illustrate what happened on this exact scenario for me. I was buying a laptop, and this was really quite recent, so this is top of mind for me. I met an average ordinary salesperson, and I had transcended, keep in mind, I had transcended the shopping process. I was so ready to buy. In fact, I was so ready to buy. It wasn't because I was excited. It was because I just want to get this over with. And as expected, the presentation was crap. The salesperson literally read the tiny little spec sheet of 10, or maybe it was 6 or 8 bullet points right in front of the computer that I had just done so reading. And I guess her trial close was, the price is not negotiable. And I guess I didn't look like I could afford it, because the close was, our payment plan is hundreds of dollars per month with 0 down and no interest for only 3 months. As you can imagine, I wasn't really excited, and it kind of had me rethinking my plan of buying. If that was not enough, I had to ask her, do you have one ready to go? Well, she didn't know. Said, I'll be right back and I'll go and check. Was gone an unusually long period of time, which I thought to myself, I should just leave. I should just walk out. But when she did come back, it was the perfect close. And the perfect close was in her hand. We only have one. Wow. This could have been so much easier, so much earlier on, sped up the whole process. While I'm staring, looking at it, she could have simply said, if you're really interested, if you're very serious about owning this one, I only have one. Now, I'm happy to tell you all about it, show you how it works, explain all the features. We've got a fantastic payment plan that you can take advantage of, but I only have one. Leveraging those tactics of scarcity and urgency are invaluable. And right now, gang, because of our short supply, you can't do it enough. Capitalize on it while you can, because the inventory shortage is going to end quicker than we think. And when it does, we'll be back to wheeling and dealing and negotiating with every other competitor who is in your brand the closest to you, not necessarily the actual competition. If I were her, I would have said, this is the only one, or for that matter, the only 5, or I only have 10, or I only have 15. I could think to myself, holy mackerel, 15, isn't that a lot? No, we go through about 5 a day. So we've got a 3-day supply. If in fact you do, don't lie about it. Don't embellish the truth. Don't make that up, because you just get caught in it. Your face will go red. You'll get flushed. You'll get hot. You'll start to perspire, and they know full well you're lying. If you don't go through 15 a week, or 15 a month, or 15 in 6 months, then don't tell them you have 15. Just walk out and say, I've got one ready to go. That's the same thing, isn't it? And then you can button me up with, would you like to take advantage of our 0 interest short-term offer, or will you be paying cash, credit, or debit? Right? Don't assume that I'm going to finance. I may want to pay cash. I may have inherited a bunch of money. I may have won the lottery. I may have saved hard-earned money, and I'm really proud of the fact that I'm paying it with cash or debit. But on the other side of the equation, I may want the points on my credit card, so I may pay for it with a credit card. The point is, will you be taking advantage of our 0% interest short-term offer, or would you like to pay cash, credit, or debit? Assume the sale. Don't expect them to say, oh, I'll take it. How can I pay for it? Now, the closing aberration assumes the buyer is anxious and anticipating the next step being delivery. So tactic number 1 here is ask your buyer if they would like to take it now, tomorrow, or by the weekend. Now, it does not matter whether your management allows spot delivery or not. The point is that you want to ask. Now, if you are ordering a vehicle and you know you won't see it for 12 months, ask them, is there something special happening in 12 months that we need to make sure we've got the vehicle here in time? Get them thinking about that. Maybe they're planning a big trip. Maybe they're going to use this in a wedding. Maybe they're buying a treat for themselves and they have become part of the retirement age. Maybe they're going to drive across the country. Maybe they're buying an RV to tow or a boat to tow, and they're going to need this product. Get them thinking about that. That makes them emotional about it, and that leverages urgency, doesn't it? The point is, just ask. The closing aberration is customer focused, not dealer centric. So you don't want to tell them it takes us 3 days to get your vehicle ready, or when you order, don't expect to see it for 12 months. That's dealer centric. Nobody wants to hear that. That's not funny. You may think it's unusually funny, and maybe that's just your nervous reaction to it. Make it sound like you're doing them a favor, and that they need to commit to this sooner than later, so that we get it in a timely fashion. You know, all of this depends, even spot deliveries depend on the service department, how quickly they can get it ready, and a credit approval. But the shopper doesn't need to know any of that. That's the mechanics. That's the technical aspect of what they do. Help them see themselves driving away, showing friends and family their new purchase. Keep that image crisp. The closing aberration ensures commitment to buy, and that's all you need and want to know. Ordinary average salespeople shy away from the bill of sale. They associate rejection and fear, and typically get, I need to think about this before we go further ahead. It's simply, the bill of sale is simply an agreement between you and the customer, the co-buyer, and the manager. So the closing aberration is finalizing the agreement with this tactic. Say, I'll complete the agreement, and then we can go ahead and schedule delivery. Write that down. I'll complete the agreement, and then we can go ahead and schedule delivery, or get on with delivery, whatever you prefer to use. Now, average ordinary salespeople refuse to introduce accessories. I don't get this. The closing aberration is getting over the fear that the buyer will say, yeah, I want those accessories, and throw them in with the deal. All you simply do here is ask, hey, are there accessories that you would like to add, or shall I finalize the agreement and get on with the delivery process? That's all you have to say. Write that down. Tactic number 3, are there any accessories that you would like to add, or shall I finalize the agreement and get on with the delivery process? Well, you're probably not sitting in the accessory area. You probably don't have the accessories on your desk. And whether you do or you don't, if the client does want accessories, you are remiss in not offering. If the client does not want any accessories, feeling they've spent all their money at this point, they'll easily say no. That's a positive no. So the closing aberration is so easy and customer focused and effective, it's actually underutilized. Now here, I've got another quick story for you on this, because I know you love my stories and it makes it real world. I recently bought a dirt bike for my kids, and the guy missed out on a sale of $1,500. That's $1,500 in accessories because he didn't ask. We bought the bike, brought it home, jumped on the internet, and filled out a shopping cart of bling. Too bad. Really silly that fearful salesperson didn't ask us if there's some accessories. They were probably in his showroom, or at least in the parts department. If anything, he could order them, right? Be sure to ask. It rounds out the whole purchase. It makes the experience that much more pleasant. Now, when you think about the closing aberration and the necessary steps to deliver a vehicle, this tactic number 4 just makes sense. It's the registration one. When I do not know what to say to a shopper, and keep in mind, I still have my independent used car lot, so I test all of these practices. I get out there on the showroom floor with my guys. When I don't know what to say to a shopper that is not said, I'll take it. I'll ask one of these 2 questions. Do you want to own it? Or I'll say, whose name will the vehicle be registered in? I'll ask the first out on the lot, and returning from the demonstration drive, ask the second at my desk. The closing aberration, this closing aberration is responsible for 9 out of 10 deals for me. I hope it works as effectively for you. It sounds natural rolling off my tongue. It took years of practice to develop the confidence to be able to do so. All you need to do is train towards it. This one's more effective than any other of the patented closes that I know of. And by the way, these are the 5 patented closes. So if there is a trade-in, follow the registration aberration close with tactic number 5. And you could say this: I'll need your registration and insurance in order to complete the agreement. I will need your registration and insurance in order to complete the agreement. This is the most important part. This is the closing aberration right here. Is that in your wallet or your glove box? So let me reiterate. I'll need your registration and insurance to complete the agreement. Is that in your wallet or your glove box? If there is no trade-in, use the insurance all on its own. I'll need your insurance slip to complete the agreement. I've used this close when, again, I was not really sure what the buyer was thinking. And I'll arm you with these talk tracks in a second. Practice and rehearse these talk tracks until they roll off your tongue with ease. Practice with family, friends, and colleagues long before talking to shoppers and converting buyers. And that's it, gang. We are out of time. I hope you're enjoying these programs. I'm trying to slow my pace down, allow you an opportunity to write down, make some notes. Be sure to mark these Thursday sessions on your calendar and join me every week. There's a new topic every week. And if you're not subscribed to the Auto Dealership Academy manifesto and not sure about what I make reference to in terms of various steps, then go to my website and book a discovery call to see if this manifesto is right for you. If you know anyone that is struggling or new in the business and you'd like to help them, send them to my website and request a guest pass. It's right at the very top. So www.autodealershipacademy.com. They can request a guest pass right there. Now, does anybody have any questions, comments, wins that they'd like to share in the chat right now, or turn your microphone on and you can share those details with me? You can connect with me on my email address at bharvey@dynamicsintel.com. You can go to my website and connect with me there, scheduling a discovery or a strategy call. You can text, call, or leave me a voicemail at 705-350-0811. And of course, join me on social, Facebook.com/Auto Dealership Academy. Our private members group, and I want to encourage everyone to join this, where we make a mastermind of like-minded people, is Facebook.com/groups/Auto Dealership Academy. My Instagram page is the Auto Dealership Academy, and you can find me on LinkedIn at LinkedIn/Dynamics International, Bill Harvey. Now, does anybody have any questions? Any comments? Any questions or comments? I'm going to take a drink of water because I need it now. Anybody have any questions about what's working and what isn't working? Suggestions? Thanks, Cole. Appreciate that. Any idea, any concerns, how customers are different, more challenging, how the economy is influencing it? Hey, keep in mind, I'm really impressed that you're all still attending and coming into the workshop. And there's a number of you that are unidentified, that are watching the program anonymously, and I appreciate that. We're going into tough economic times, unquestionably. We have been in a recession for much longer than any of us care or want to know about. The recession is probably going to become more evident as we move forward into Q4 and into Q1 of next year. Black Friday may have a significant impact. We will see. We're seeing the financial markets investing in gold, which is technically cash. And this is generally an indication of instability in the market. People are storing their cash. So you are doing all the right things by coming to this program, by following through with the manifesto, by sharpening your sword and honing your skill, because as we go forward, there'll be a lot of average, ordinary salespeople that don't know how to do this. And as inventories start to build and product is sitting on the ground, there'll be a lot of average, ordinary salespeople leveraging scarcity and urgency of 6 months ago now, where we had nothing on the ground for at least 9 months. And if you wanted, pardon me, buy something, you had to act now because it literally could be gone in hours, let alone minutes. We're going to be looking at these skills. You will be leveraging these fundamentals more frequently going forward this year and certainly into next year. And I don't want to alarm you or concern you or get you worried about that at all. Just want to draw that to your attention. If you know anybody that is struggling or new in the business, do them a favor, get them to my website, request a guest pass, and then they could jump on a discovery call with me and see if this program would be right for them. There's going to be winners and losers coming out of this recession. And anybody following these skills, leveraging these tactics, and I mean all of them, all 9 steps and the 3 actions per step of the 3 phases and the 1 system of this whole manifesto, it just makes your life so easy. And it just boils down to consumers believe and trust you. And when they believe and trust you, they tell all their friends, they tell their family. And before you know it, you're too busy handling this inflow, this amazing pipeline of customers flowing through your sales funnel. You're too busy to answer the phone, respond to cold emails, and ever take anybody off the showroom floor. So I just want to draw that to your attention. The impending recession looming in front of us should be motivation for you to continue to hone your skills, sharpen your sword, be top of mind with all your customers, going through all 9 steps and leveraging the 3 actions per step. These classes are just one component of the entire learning management system. And of course, the mastermind and one-on-one teachings will help you achieve individually the maximum potential that you deserve. If there aren't any questions or comments, I'm going to button this up because it will be an hour-long video for you to review. These videos can be found in the private members Facebook group of the Auto Dealership Academy. You do have to be accepted into that group. And once you are, there really isn't anything to be able to qualify for that. But once you're accepted in the private members group, you will be able to find the link to this class today hosted on our unlisted YouTube channel, where you can review this at your own pace and make notes, pausing and starting. And just like our manifesto and our portal for hosting the 3 phases, 9 steps, and 27 actions, you can start and stop at your leisure on any device that has an internet connection anywhere at all. You can do this at the cottage. You can do this at home. You can stop on one computer, resume on another computer, days, weeks, and even months later. And that includes hosting on YouTube. So we try to find these most stable platforms rather than reinventing the wheel, especially the ones that you know how to work. My name is Bill Harvey. Thank you so much for joining me. Put these Thursday classes on your calendar. We've got a bigger group happening for next week, a new client that has just come on board. Really excited about that. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Have a magnificent day, a terrific weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye for now.